The Dallas Stars have a 2-1 series lead over the Colorado Avalanche thanks to a pair of overtime winning goals. And they've done it without their best player, Miro Heiskanen. If he comes back in this series, can the Stars use that to put away the Avalanche for good? Let's talk about it. Along with the rest of our DLS Stars podcast crew, Craig Ludwig and Sam Nestler joining us live from Denver. Of course, this is a mini pod recording, so saying it live is kind of silly, but let's talk about it anyway. I'm Owen Newkirk. Guys, the Stars have been without Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen for the first 3 games of this series. Now, Robertson does not appear to be anywhere closer, but Miro is on the verge of returning as he seems to keep getting closer and closer, as Pete DeBoer will say, taking practices, doing a little bit more step by step. It seems crazy that when a week ago we didn't think that he would play in the first round at all, and now there's a chance that perhaps he could play maybe as early as Game 4 on Saturday, maybe Game 5 on Monday in Dallas, maybe later even than that. But how big of an impact would getting Miro Heiskanen back be to face Nate McKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche?
Well, it would be something that would be in the minds of the Avs because they're going to have to make adjustments. They're going to have to plan for him being back, the way he transports pucks out of his own zone and what he can do through the neutral zone, his skating ability, and the way he can defend. Are they going to try to keep him away from Nathan McKinnon, or are they going to let that happen? So, I think my thing is the good news is for the Dallas Stars is they're up a game. It's 2-1. So maybe there's not as much urgency right now to get him back in the lineup. But I still think there's also a long-term plan for Heiskanen. You're not bringing Miro back into this playoff series if he's 65, 70%. I think he's got to be 85, 90%. The last thing you want is to bring him back and then have something happen where he tweaks something that was completely healed, and now all of a sudden he has to miss some games in round 2 or 3 should they get there. So I think that you have to be cautious with him. But again, the guys that are in the lineup every night, make it a little easier on this decision. And as long as they can finish these games off and get a nice lead in a series, you can give him a little bit more time to get closer to 100%.
Sam, you made a great point on our Thursday show podcast, our DLS Stars podcast, that Miro's not coming back when he does to play 8 to 10 minutes and ease his way in. If he's on the ice for the Dallas Stars, he's playing a lot more than that.
Absolutely. That's the way they've done it for a while now. They don't bring guys back in just to ease them into games. They ease them in to practices and ease them in the process to get them ready. We saw it with Tyler Seguin. He came in, he was immediately put back on that second line, and he's looked like himself in the first 3 games. For Miro, the crazy thing for me, and Pete talked about it on Thursday in his media press availability at the very nice Ritz-Carlton. He said, people didn't give us a chance in this series. He even looked at some of the national reporters dead in the eyes when he said that he knows didn't pick them in the series. But he said, no one gave us a chance, and it's because of how we played down the stretch and because of who we're missing. But no one gave the group that remained on this team enough credit. And I think that's such a good point because we get so swept up in all the players they're missing. And don't get me wrong, Miro Heiskanen is the best player on this team in my understanding, and what a lot of people would say. Jason Robertson is probably their best goal scorer and one of their best offensive players. But this team has been built on depth for a very long time, and specifically under Pete DeBoer. They love to have 4 lines. They love to run 3D pairs. They have more than just those guys. And people have mentioned, it's like Cale Makar coming out for the Colorado Avalanche. Last year, if Cale Makar came out for the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs, it changes their entire team. This year, they're a little bit deeper, but they're still not as deep as Dallas. And that, I think, is the thing you have to look at is this team has found a way to go up 2-1 on a Stanley Cup contender, win a game in Denver without 2 of their best players and their best overall player and defenseman who impacts every part of their game. So when Miro's ready, he needs to be, as Lud said, 90% ready to come in. He's not going to come in and play 35 minutes or anything crazy. At least I don't think so. But he does need to come in and be a full participant and be able to play Miro Heiskanen style of game, not ease into things and play on a bottom pairing.
Luds, we talk about the emotional lift of a team to get a player like Gabe Landeskog did in Game 3 for Colorado, and it did do that. They didn't win. The Stars won the game in overtime. Miro would have that as well, but from a tactical standpoint, Dallas has been dealing without him for the first 3 games, and we would anticipate probably for at least the first 4. We'll see. But how does Miro's presence, if he's able to play at a considerable, at least let's say an 85 to 90% of Miro's ability, how does that change how the Stars can match up against the Avalanche?
Well, I think the biggest difference is when the Stars defensemen get the puck in their own zone and when they want to break the puck out, generally they use a couple different ways. One, they love the flipper, and they get that into the neutral zone, and they haven't used it as much in this series as we've seen in the past, but they end up making that first pass, that second pass. But from the standpoint of the Avs and structure, they set up and they're planning for those kind of passes to be made. When Heiskanen's in the lineup, he generally transports the puck out with his legs. And so he skates things out. And Miro has the ability to skate the first forechecker out of the equation. Then what happens is he keeps moving up through the middle of the ice, somebody else has to come to him. So now all of a sudden your structure breaks down a little bit, and now lanes start to open up. And Heiskanen's got the ability to make those pinpoint passes. So now when the second guy starts to come from, he finds the outlet on that side. Now all of a sudden it creates an outnumbered rush on one side or the other. And so it breaks things down, and it's what allows Dallas to play the way that they play, like to enter the zone and especially in outnumbered situations. And they can pass so well, and they kind of tic-tac-toe it. Although they have changed it a little bit now in Game 3, Game 2, and 3, especially in 3, where they're directing more things than that. The other side, I would say, is on the power play. When Heiskanen breaks the puck out, there's always that threat he can carry it through and up into the zone, but they like to use that drop pass, so they have to adjust for that. The other thing is the way that he moves around on the offensive blue line. He's not a shooter like Harley is. He's more of a distributor, but his passes are generally on point.
One of the interesting things, too, for us to talk about, Sam, is who comes out, because I think it's a pretty obvious answer. It's Alexander Petrovic, but not because of what he is or isn't doing, but just because it's Miro Heiskanen. And frankly, Petrovic has been really, really steady for the Stars in this playoff series.
I think it's kind of been crazy to look at the fact that we talked about Matt Dumba all season, and they kept giving him chances and putting him in, and then all of a sudden the playoffs come around and Petrovic is in and Dumba's the scratch. But I think that's less about Dumba and more about Petrovic, because I think Sean said it the other day, he's got like 6 regular season NHL games over the last 2 years and 8 playoff games or something crazy like that. He's just been a playoff guy, and that's just because of the way he's able to come in, similar to Joel Hanley, how he's able to come in. He doesn't have to be with the team all season. He doesn't have to play games, recently leading up to it, but he comes in and he just plays the same way. He's big. He's got a good reach. He's got a good stick. He plays a very structured, not safe, but a game that you're not expecting him to come up and create a ton of offense, but you're expecting him to be there when you need him defensively. And Pete DeBoer even said after Game 3 that pairing of Bichel and Petrovic was really good, and they've gotten a ton of good minutes for him. On the flip side, obviously Miro comes in when he's ready, right? So someone has to come out, and I think we've talked about it a lot. I anticipate probably a Lindell or Harley and Heiskanen pairing when he's fully ready to go. So that would leave you kind of all of a sudden you have too many lefties, which I never thought we would think. You have too many righties or you have too many lefties. This team's gone back and forth over and over again, depending on who's been injured in the situation. So I think that's kind of going to be the bet there, and I would love to see it be Lindell and Heiskanen, Harley, Lyubushkin pairing at the top 4. I think that just all of a sudden, Miro makes you so much better, but that top 4 just looks so much deeper with that insert into the lineup.
The other thing I would say about Petrovic being in the lineup, he's where you're supposed to be as a stay-at-home defenseman. So he's not on the outside, and he doesn't get beat back to the front of the net. And, you mentioned Matt Dumba. We've seen times throughout the season where you're chasing back to your own net. Now, when you insert Heiskanen, he may be on the wrong side sometimes, but because of his quickness, he can recover so quick. He can get back into that play. But I just think that again, back to Petrovic, he's effective and he's an efficient kind of defenseman. He's in the right areas of the ice. He's a big body. It makes it difficult for players to get to the front of the net, to get in front of Ottinger, because he does a good job, just like his partner right now, Leon Bichel. They seal guys out. So Jake, I'm sure, is very happy with playing, behind those two guys, because his sight lines are generally better because of their size and the way that they think when people are coming to the net. It's about get them and move them to the side and let my goaltender see the shot.
Does it make you feel encouraged that if Miro does come back in this series, that it most likely pushes Cody Ceci down to the 3rd pairing, which is no slouch or slight to Ceci? I think he's been very solid for them. But the idea that he is now in your 3rd pairing, most likely with Bichel, because you have Lyubushkin and Harley, Lindell and Heiskanen, and Lyubushkin's been very solid and steady, as you say.
Yep.
that to me gives them a lot of depth. They have Petrovic, they have Dumba, they have Smith all available. That helps for injuries. And Thomas Harley currently leading the postseason NHL Stanley Cup playoffs with 31.05 of time on ice. More than Makar, more than Taves, more than Jake Sanderson. He is playing more minutes than anybody.
After all of that, everything that you said, they've only led for, what is it? 1 minute.
62 seconds.
62 seconds
Yes.
in this series. You're up to. Good problem to have, right? But anytime, like you talk about moving any of those 2 or 3 guys down in the lineup, so to speak, they just get stronger. It's just you're a deeper, and if you're able to use those guys in the top 4 and you're winning hockey games, and you found a different way to kind of play now in the playoffs that I believe is more effective, and your goaltender is able to see more shots, less chaos in your own zone than we've seen throughout the year. Now when you have to slide in a Heiskanen, and again, I just think it makes it more difficult, and matchups become so important in the playoffs all the time.
Sam?
Yeah, and Thomas Harley, I was just going to say, Thomas Harley can play those minutes. We all know that. But when Heiskanen comes back in, it allows him to not have to play those minutes. And I think we saw last year in the playoffs some of the Stars defensemen getting a little bit tired, especially when they were riding that 5-man rotation. Miro comes in, it splits the minutes up a little bit. And even more importantly, maybe it allows Harley to play a little more on the penalty kill, or Heiskanen to play a little more on the penalty kill, because they are missing Harley. They've sacrificed Harley on the penalty kill because he's playing so much on the power play, and they don't want to overtask him. Now it gives them the freedom to play your best players in the situations that they're best at.
The biggest challenge would be getting Miro to manage his minutes, if there is such a thing. Just for his own safety and being able to play, and continue to play out through the playoffs.
It's a good problem for the Dallas Stars to have. What do you think? Would getting Miro back be the death knell for the Colorado Avalanche? I don't know. I think this series is still a lot tighter than we're giving it credit for after a couple of overtime wins. Great, but we'll find out as we continue to follow Miro Heiskanen's return to the lineup from that January knee injury and surgery. Thanks for watching here on DLLS.